160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley, with convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut. Visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Underwriting for WSKB's community radio programming is brought to you in part by R. Levesque Associates. They are offering landscape architecture, civil engineering, environmental permitting, and land surveying. RLA is a second-generation company devoted to excellence in the planning and design of outdoor spaces. On the web at rlaland.com or at 40 School Street in Westfield.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSFD.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
8, 10 and a half places.
I did just yell that out.
Places.
Hey, we're doing a show here.
Bob's on 1.
I got it.
All right.
We'll let the music trail while they're
Yeah, I moved the mics.
straggling in.
I moved the mics around a bit.
Straggling, I say.
Jesus Christ.
Places.
I'm here.
I'm yelling out the back there going, hey, we're starting a show now.
And I know the big news.
I tell you, I'm all right now, but last week I was in rough shape. No respect at all.
Why would we start now?
This time last week we were beginning our trek back.
I know, and I was still in bed. I rolled over and thought, yes, I don't have to get up. Oops, I'm sorry.
Although we did have our time at the Stargate Diner.
Ooh.
Ooh, that sounds like
They have
fun.
such great we missed the weekend buffet, but they have such great food.
They have scrapple there.
They do.
Scrapple.
And it was pretty that was pretty fried, wasn't it? Did you finish all your scrapple?
It was over fried, I think. It was a
Yeah, they
little
were a little
overdone. It was
crunchy.
hard, really hard on the edge.
Do you know what scrapple is, Bob?
Yeah, it's the it's like the garbage. What do you call it?
But it is
a
tasty.
You take the garbage
Snips
and you
and
put
snails and piggy.
yeah, and you put eggs on it, and then it becomes. This,
But it's sort of like
It's a
fried
garbage
It's sort
pail.
of like bacon, isn't it?
No, it's like a pork product, like almost like
oh,
meatloaf.
pork belly.
It's
Pork
like-
bellies.
Like meatloaf. No. This is all ground up.
Yeah.
It's almost like a meatloaf.
Okay. I do like meatloaf.
Scrapple.
Good
son.
morning, Ken.
Almost akin to
It is a tasty pork product.
Tasty
And you
pork.
dared to get into a car after that?
Oh,
and
Bob,
drive
don't
back.
go there.
For
Don't,
8
don't,
hours. And Bob, here's the kicker.
Yeah.
We couldn't really stop and take our time because I had 2 meetings on Zoom that night that I had to do back at home.
Oh God! Oh my God! So you couldn't? Did you guys wear Pampers? Or
Oh, no, we made-
depends. Or
we
you-
made
yeah,
pit-
yeah, we
Bob,
just-
we made pit
yeah,
stops where we couldn't like
Oh,
stop
no.
for a long period for lunch or anything like
Got,
that.
oh, got it. Well, Ken's den.
Is it? Is
You
that
know-
why we're here?
you know,
Here for
we-
Ken? Is Ken here? Where's Ken?
I also at one place had shit. Cream chipped on toast. I almost said it.
Like that.
Chip beef on toast.
Yeah,
I love
I
it.
almost said it.
Blank on a shingle.
Blank on a shingle. Yeah.
That's the one thing I don't like. My mother used to make it, and I just
Remember it
And
came
you can
in
get-
the glass. It
the
was,
little
it-
glass it
glass.
came in. I wonder
Yeah.
if it still does. I'll bet it does.
And you know you can get
I'll bet it does.
you get grits anywhere down there for with
Grits.
breakfast.
I know
They're usually
grits are.
tasty,
I've
yeah.
had grits.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
Uh-huh.
an acquired taste.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fried cabbage is the side order
I like cabbage.
down there.
Fried
Beet-
cabbage for
pickled
breakfast?
beets is a side order down there.
No, not no.
Yeah, up here you get. Oh, do you want a baked
No.
potato or do you want French fries?
Okay.
You know what, Pete?
What's going on, Ken?
You know we were back down in Chickateague last week.
Yep.
All right, and we've gotten to know the area very well, and there were no issues on the drive down.
No.
Not even a fart was discharged.
Although we did have working windows.
There's a restaurant called the Chincoteague Diner, and every time we have come out here, there's been a black and white cat hanging around outside.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So we are staying next to said diner, and I have seen the same cat, or at least I'm assuming it's the same cat.
Tuxedo cat.
You know, it might be a pet, or it may be very street smart. And what I mean by that is that one time I went out to have a smoke, and I saw the cat duck into some bushes. A minute later, I saw a fox walk down the road. The fox walked past me 20 feet away. Yeah. A minute after that, I saw the cat dart across the road after the fox had passed.
Gotcha.
You know, I just realized that none of these monologues that come up with after we get back from a launch ever have anything to do with the launch itself. Anyways, on the morning after our first night staying on the island, we needed to drive 2 hours to Norfolk to pick up Pete Squeeze.
Is that his girlfriend?
Yes.
Of course, the universe would not make this easy.
Oh my God.
The right rear tire was low.
Uh-oh.
Now, let me back up for a minute. All right?
On the right.
You usually can't figure out where you may have picked up a road hazard, but I'm fairly certain of it. All right? There was a private gravel road that Pete decided to drive down through a junkyard, construction,
there.
propane tank storage operations area, that type of thing. I will admit it, though. It was the perfect place to get the right shot.
Yes.
A picture of a train locomotive.
Decorated
Back-
veterans.
Back to the tire.
Veterans, yeah.
I know a hazard can be in your tire for a day or more before it shifts just the right way and starts to cause a problem.
Okay.
All right.
If you say so.
So we stopped by the local garage, and the nail was too close to the sidewall to be plugged.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So it was 18 miles to the next town over to wait 2 hours for it to be patched at another shop, $28. Out of Peter's pocket later, and we were on our way.
Yeah.
Fast forward 24 hours. We were setting up our gear for a test run and found out that our rooms were too far apart for our wireless video system to work.
Yes.
Now, why did we need that? You see, Pete picked out a room with a king bed after looking at the hotel website and Google Maps and figured that he would have a pretty good shot at pad 0A from his balcony. I picked a double queen because I like to use the extra bed as a staging area for my stuff. Come to find out, Pete's room did not have a clear view,
Oh, no.
but mine had a clear shot.
That's good. That's good.
Since Pete needed to set up Command Central in his place, we needed a way to get the camera signal 200 feet away from my room to his.
Ooh.
We decided...
There you go. There's my room.
Oh, lovely.
I didn't even think about taking a picture of mine because I'm in so many damn hotels now.
Some of us come prepared for show and tell.
So we decided a road trip to Lowe's was warranted so that we could get a 250-foot reel of RG6 quad shield coaxial cable.
Okay.
Now, the right front tire was low.
Oh, no.
This time it was a screw,
Oh, no.
but it was right through the thread so that the local
Right in
mechanic
center, yeah.
could plug it. This was another $30 out of Peter's pocket.
By the way, here's the engine that I probably got the nail from.
Oh, look at that. Wow.
Oh, he's admitting it now.
Yeah.
I
agree with you.
Which negates my next line in my monologue.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
He will deny the fact that both of the hazards could have been picked up where I mentioned, but there was a lot of junk and work equipment there.
Okay.
All I say is that I hope that $50 photo was worth it. In fact, as a memento, you should have it enlarged and framed with the NG-17 mission badge on
Well,
it.
I don't think the drywall screw came from the engine because that was a day later. I think we picked that up somewhere.
You could have a screw in your tire for a week or two before it acts up.
No, but the head wasn't like it hadn't run for a while, and it was sticking up so far that it would have scraped pretty hard. So the head was scraped right off that sucker.
Mm-hmm.
So that we could have picked that one up anywhere. But the other one that was fresh,
Regardless, you got a good shot.
Oops.
and I helped fix my own tire. I did.
Yeah. The mechanic was a little elderly, and he couldn't put enough weight behind the plug to get it in. So Pete
Call in the
steps
weight.
in and uses his weight to plug that sucker.
Okay.
But now, so far, all right, 3 hiccups, and it wasn't even launch day.
Oh, jeez.
So at this point, Pete has his squeeze in town for 2 nights. All right, since the night she arrived, it didn't really count, because it was kind of like a settling in type of night. I figured they would have liked to go out for dinner on the real first night by themselves as a couple, sans Kenny.
Yeah.
All right, the third wheel.
Sure.
They both insisted I'd go. How kind. The squeeze apparently has expensive taste, and I wish they insisted to pick up my tab, too. I needed to stick to Dollar General cold cuts and pizza shop grinders the rest of the week.
Stop it.
Poor baby.
I saw several very large hawks circling the property that morning, and I have yet to see that cat again. Perhaps they became addicted to filet mignon.
Oh, my God.
That ain't right.
You like that.
The following morning was lunchtime. Now, there has been a scrub on at least the last 4 launches Peter and I have covered. All right. In fact,
correct.
I don't even remember the last time a vehicle went up on the first attempt. Hours before the decision to go or not, we were at breakfast. Let me touch upon breakfast for a minute.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Many hotels will offer you a continental breakfast as part of your stay. And most of the time, it'll be a muffin, perhaps some toast, fruit, yogurt.
Sure.
This place had
Sure.
biscuits and gravy, cheese omelets,
Ooh.
scrambled eggs, sausage
Ooh.
patties, sausage links, bacon, toast, muffin, cereal, oatmeal, yogurt, fruit salad, and make them yourself waffles.
Oh, wow. Nice.
This more than made up for the slightly higher price we paid over what we usually pay for at the other places we have used for years.
We
all right?
saved a lot of money having breakfast in the
The
hotel.
rooms
Not
are
bad.
also bigger, cleaner, and newer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and you can see the pad from the room balcony. At least mine.
You could see mine too, but it was through a tree branch.
But back to that breakfast. Even though it was a buffet style,
Buffett.
Buffett.
Like
and,
Jimmy.
and it was sitting in warmers, it was better than most of the other places we have eaten breakfast at in town. You know, so we were sitting there listening to the range weather report, and we were at 25% odds of a weather violation.
Oh.
The forecast stays green. The range is green. We are a go.
Okay.
It goes up. The sky was clear, and you could see it with your eyes until it hit Miko. That would be main engine cutoff for you
Okay,
non-nerds.
good. Thank you. Thank you.
It was Pete Squeeze's first lunch, and she is now addicted. You know what? That's fine. I need a second set of hands for hauling things like tripods and for paying out 250-foot reels of coaxial cable. So now here I am at the end of Sunday, a day by myself. And I'm here by myself since Pete decided to take a squeeze back to the airport, and I really didn't want to tag along for the 5 hours of doing that.
Yeah.
With all the hours driving around the area and driving down, with all that, there's only been one olfactory violation. And that is simply because I decided to eat an entire order of collard greens at a barbecue joint.
That was you. It wasn't me.
And those
causing
were
that
those
issue.
are freaking yummy too.
That was
I ate
you.
a whole order of collards. So, I'm thinking my change in diet to meats and dairy has actually made me safe to take along for a long drive. I'm so confident about this that I don't expect there to be any incidents on the drive back on Tuesday. So I stopped my writing there. And you know what? There were no olfactory violations on the way back
I can't
because of
believe
the
it.
change in my diet. Yes, I was very, very
Right.
good. But now, as I finished writing this, I heard something howling outside.
Yeah, what?
Yeah. Yep, it was a cat. I guess it must just be down to 7 lives now. And now this is where we jump right into,
Oh, God.
because we only have 7 minutes left, Bob.
Oh, my word.
I have a pre-recorded interview coming up at 8:30.
Got it. Hey, Celebrity Big Brother.
I know.
Finale.
I tried to watch part of it.
Oh.
but
And I warned
Right.
you at the beginning, if they don't get rid of her, she's going to go all the way to the end. She's a competition beast, both with the endurance comps,
Yes.
with the physical comps, and with the mental comps. She's
and
just
she
a beast.
is who?
This is Misha
Misha Tate.
Tate.
And who is that?
She's a famous boxer.
Yeah, not to be confused with one of the families on the TV show Soap.
Not that
Because-
famous, because I've never seen her before in my entire life.
Because that,
No.
my friends,
That
was
was
a
a Tate
story
family, yes.
about the Tates and the Campbells.
I
If you remember how that
I
intro
remember,
go.
I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
I remember.
Shiny
I-
things again, cupcakes.
So listen, I gotta say it was the best season of Celebrity Big Brother ever.
Yes.
And it was
even with the 2 times CBS decided to virtue signal.
But that's okay.
It wasn't as bad and as in your face as Big Brother the regular season. I'll say that. Mm-hmm. But there was a 5-page article. I think it was TV Guide this past week. I'm going to get it to you.
Yeah.
That covers how CBS has taken over, and it's really going after. They want 50% or more of BIPOC, and
Of
or
what?
BIPOC. I'm sorry, Black Indigenous people of color.
Oh, I think that's
it.
absolutely fine.
And you know what? It ended
great.
up taking a gay African American man to helm CBS in order for that to happen.
Wow.
All right. So that's behind that. That's why things are appearing different. And it's on Survivor. It's on Amazing Race. Every single reality program now.
and even on their series, the actors in their series are of mixed race or whatever, and they're really making a conscious.
So that
effort.
explains
It's
all of that.
It's really great.
And I was at the point where I'm like, you know what? If now they pull what was the name of the group in Big Brother during the summer? The Network, The Breakfast,
The Cookout.
The Cookout. All right, I'm starting to watch this, and I'm like, this could be another cookout at the end, and if it is, I'm gonna call BS because now you know that they set it up.
Peter.
But Misha ended up
I
getting
turned
all.
my mic off already, Kath.
She got all but one vote. Okay,
And she's a white woman.
yeah, she was up against and she was up against Todrick, which was one of two tokens that season because he was there along with Carson, and he messed up big time. He did not listen to people he really should have been listening to. That game could have changed a week and a half before the finale if they were smart.
No, yeah.
But ended up.
I thought that very interesting to watch.
Cynthia Bailey was the only vote.
She was so wonderful.
Not for Misha.
Oh my God, Real Housewife. You got to know her, and she was a really lovely person. And you know what I want to say is that the watching that show, it's very interesting that it didn't dawn on me that there were. Black and white, and they even had an Asian person on it. But it begins to be about the program and not about who somebody is indigenously. I don't know.
It's going to take them a season or two to get beyond.
It's a really wonderful
the initial call for this.
Yeah.
And
It's very, but
and I don't have an issue with that.
Hey,
I'm mentioning it because people may be watching and saying, something seems different.
Yeah. Well, hey, the interesting thing for me was and it was a disappointment. CBS did not allow or did not have a reunion show. They do not have a reunion show for the celebrities to
they were all
process in front of us.
They were all on,
But
and they were interviewed at the end.
Yeah, very small interviews,
Yeah.
and they weren't talking to one another. There was not this. All of a sudden, it seemed, wow, they've lived together all this summer.
It also went over 3 weeks instead of 3 months.
Yeah, it's
so
true. It's true. But there was a bit of a disappointment at the end. It sort of didn't. There was not a climax. There was not a big crescendo.
No, because everyone knew it was going to be Misha at this point.
Maybe.
And
but
that's
it still
why.
was a good season.
It was, and I called it right at the beginning. She was going to be a competition beast.
Yes. Hey, Kenny,
Mm-hmm.
this is, may I, while we're at it, this is a paper bag filled with, there are three. What are these tapes?
VHS. We'll talk about that after I start up my interview here in a minute.
Oh, okay. VHS, but I wanted to tell you that I'm giving you a job. My cousin asked me where she could have these VHSs. And I said, I just have the person for you at KS Solutions, Kenny Stomsky Solutions. So I'll give this to you afterward when you start your interview. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to know that I'm out there working for you every moment of the day.
I don't have a work order to give you. Thanks.
No problem.
All right. All right. So 2 weeks ago, I had Joe Rouse on the program, and naturally, the clip goes up on the social media on YouTube, and there were some comments on it. And Pete and I are in Virginia, and we're like, well, what the heck, right? And Pete's reading some of them, and he ended up emailing one of them saying, hey, look, if you really disagree or if you have another view, or you think you know a different set of facts, whatever, come on in and talk about it. No one ever takes us up when we do that. We say, come on in, we'll put you on the hot seat, you can talk. Somebody did this time.
Oh, wow.
All right. So what we are going to do now is we are going to run a pre-recorded interview that I had just this past Thursday with Gabriella Mihalishan.
Oh, well.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday. Every Tuesday,
good?
6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community radio.
89.5 WSFD.
I did it.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
And welcome back to this pre-recorded segment. Kathy Palmer is not able to be here for this. She wanted to be here for this, but even though the cows are gone, there's still things to do on the farm. So Kathy sends her regrets, but I think we can handle the next 25 minutes without any issues. Joining me today is Gabriella Mihalishan.
That's right.
Did I get that right?
Got it right.
Perfect. Now, it's the first time I'm having you on, and you are basically coming on because the week before last, I had Joe Rouse from the health department come in, and several people out in social media land are saying, okay, well, that's not completely right. That's not completely true. Well, this is what we believe. This is what we heard. And I know that you were vocal during all of the Board of Health meetings because I watched them. All right, you were there on Zoom. Pete, our producer, reached out and it's like, hey, look,
I threw it out there just for anybody. Honestly.
Exactly, yes. And you went ahead. Okay, yeah, sure, I'll do it. We're not debating what's right or what's wrong. It's well, these are the two sides, and let other people really decide for themselves. And I know that you are a smart person. All right, and you have valid sources, and we're going to go over those sources as we go on through the next segment. So. Before I go over what I asked him, why don't you, give me the lowdown as to why you wanted to come in here?
Sure. One major issue that I see is a lack of communication. We don't have any open dialogue between the two sides.
Okay, and when you say sides, what sides are you talking
the
about?
The people that want to encourage and mandate masks and even vaccines, and the people that want free choice.
So not necessarily the Board of Health, but just two sides, like Democrat versus Republican. Okay.
Yeah, it has become like political parties where we don't know how to communicate and debate properly, and there hasn't been much communication with the Board of Health and one thing that Joe said was that he didn't think email was a proper way of communication.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely disagree. There are two forms of email. One is filled with hate and very little substance. That's not appropriate.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
However, I have sent multiple emails with facts and recommendations and a request for communication back, and I actually haven't gotten any.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I have left my phone number on the bottom of emails saying, if you prefer to talk, then give me a call.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever call into the office?
I actually did call into the office. I left a message, and I didn't ask at that point. I didn't ask for a call back because I thought he was busy. He's a public health official. He's got this pandemic. I didn't think he wanted to take the time to talk to individuals.
Yeah, from what I understand, he was getting dozens and dozens and dozens of emails, and a lot of them were that first type of email.
That's right.
So at some point you say, well, geez, I don't have time for this.
And if you want to come up with a blanket answer for those types, hey, if you, just something like, if you want to send me an email with the facts so we can have a discussion, then resend it. Take out the emotion and let's go with the facts. Or just ignore the ones that are spiteful and hateful and don't have any requests for comment back. But there are lots of people that I've talked to that have valid concerns and do have a scientific background that would love to have a conversation with Joe, the Board of Health, whoever.
You say you have a scientific background.
I do.
Do you want to dive into that for a second?
I can do that. So I have a very interesting career history, I would say.
We have time.
Okay. So I graduated from Loyola University of Chicago with a computer science and math degree. I went into programming with a statistical software that I used in the medical field. So I worked for the College of American Pathologists for about 17 years. And that is an accreditation agency for pathology labs.
All right.
So I was in the quality control part, running reports for large data sets, thousands of hospital labs and other independent labs, to check their data and see if their instruments were failing. So we would give an early indication for instrument failure.
Okay.
So I spoke with PhD statisticians and pathologists on a regular basis. I was also part of a paper that was published during that time about the linearity program that we were doing. Basically, it's we sent 2 vials of blood and they had to be mixed a certain way. And one was high in, say, sodium, and one was low in sodium. And the results should be on a line when you graph them. So the labs would measure each one and report back what was in there.
Right.
So the way that we fitted it to the line was unique, so we wrote a paper about it. So I am a published author of a scientific paper. So the comment that I didn't know there were so many scientists in Westfield. Well, did you ask? There's 41,000 people in Westfield, so some of us are going to be scientists.
Right.
So that was where my career started.
Okay.
And then there's the plot twist.
All right. I love plot twists.
So about 15 years ago, I'd say, I started having health problems.
Okay.
And none of them were huge, but they all happened, a bunch of different type of things happened at the same time. And I was convinced that there was one reason for it. But, if you bring a list of symptoms to the doctor, they say, which one do you want to work on first?
All right.
They don't say what's in common. So that started me on researching, because I knew there was some underlying cause, but I didn't know what it was, and no doctors were even considering looking for it. So I researched. It took me a while, but I found out that my problem was a gluten intolerance. So thankfully, I could do something about that. Yeah.
How long did you suffer with that?
Well, probably 3 to 5 years, where I was actually having significant symptoms.
Right.
And interestingly, I found that on a website in Australia. So all my symptoms were listed under the category of gluten intolerance. Like, oh, there you go.
Eureka.
Yeah. And when I removed it from my diet, hey, I got better.
Yeah, I had something similar happen to me several years back where I was constantly getting throat infections. And I went from one doctor to another doctor to another. Okay, well, it's thrush, it's this, it's that. Now, my allergist, who is not just an MD, but a DO,
Yes.
fixed me. And a DO, if you're lucky enough to find one of those, they treat the whole body, not just your problem.
Yes.
Yep.
They
So-
have a much better knowledge of like how everything goes together.
Yeah, if you had run into one of those, who knows?
They might have noticed. Yeah, they might have said, "Hey, I've seen this before." But there's not much teaching on food and nutrients in medical school, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, I think we're right at the tip of needing to and starting to learn more about all that. Because when I went to school, nobody had a peanut allergy.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a learning curve. So now you learn that you have a gluten intolerance.
Well, I have a question. Do you think that some of this could have been headed off had the Board of Health maybe had a public hearing or something where they were, I don't know. I agree with you on some of the things you said because I sat in all those meetings and I wouldn't know where the felt, but I had the sense that it was just like, really? And I like all those people. I know where they're coming from. And I think the hard part about this is I see both sides of it because I do all these meetings, and everybody is doing what they think is best.
Right.
That's the hard part of this one. And it seems like you shouldn't take this personally. Nobody should be taking this personally because this is government, right? So if you start taking things personally, I think that's where people get upset and the bad words come in and those awful emails that you were talking about, which actually did happen.
They did, I'm sure.
happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a tough one because it seemed to become personal.
That is certainly one part of it, but the personal, I think, happens when people don't feel like they're heard. And with this specific thing, the Board of Health, as opposed to other boards, there's this misinformation issue, and they feel like they can completely ignore anything that's been labeled misinformation.
Okay. You want to go a little deeper into what this misinformation may be?
Sure.
Okay.
So the last Board of Health meeting, Juanita Carnes mentioned that their job is to filter out misinformation and make a decision based on the facts that they have. And it dawned on me that what I have been saying every meeting for, 3 or 4 meetings about vitamin D being important has been labeled misinformation. And that's why I haven't gotten any response.
All right. Just curious now, because I know that they get the bulk of their information from both the Massachusetts Department of Health and the CDC. Have the CDC and the Massachusetts Board of Health said anything pro or con regarding that vitamin?
So I have found out that there's been something circulated to the boards of health that, and I think the school boards too, that vitamin D is not useful because this study has been done that showed it's not useful. So whenever I see a study has been done, I say, where is it? Let me look. So I tracked down that study, and this was fairly early in the pandemic. And I tracked down that study, and it studied genetic markers for vitamin D deficiency.
Okay.
So there's some genes that if they're messed up, it causes vitamin D deficiency. So they looked at the genes, not the vitamin D levels. They looked at the genes and said, oh, there's no correlation between a high risk of COVID and the genes. Well, some of those people might have been taking vitamin D supplements. They might have known about it. You can't assume that people with those genes always have a vitamin D deficiency.
Right. Keyword there, might.
they might be more likely to, but that's not a very good correlation. But it was all we had at the time. It's not all we have now. Since then, there have been a longitudinal study, which means that you find a lot of small studies and you combine all the data, and then you end up with a lot of data. And that shows a very strong correlation with vitamin D deficiency and risk of hospitalization and death with COVID.
Right.
So I'm trying to get that information, but they won't talk to me. So that's where the frustration comes in.
And these are accredited sources too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But
it's on the NIH website.
yeah, but not CDC or Mass Board of Health, right?
It's NIH. It's a study that's put right on the NIH website. So
Right.
it's an official study. And the CDC has kind of backed off on. They've gone back to, we don't know if there's any correlation. So they're not saying there isn't one.
Right. And at this
So,
point,
wait a
wait. At this point, when we were trying to figure out if Kathy could make it, she was like, "Okay, well, the mandate is over, and the school masks are going over." So she was like, "Well, what's the point of all this?" And we're gonna get to that right after what Peter might want to get in on.
So my question is, and I think I told the local board of health this, is the frustration more on the national level of them kind of tracking, and the flip-flopping and all the stuff that gets massaged on the website. And then the only people you can take it out on, really, because you can't even talk to your congressman, the only people you can really take it out on is your local officials. Is that more of the thing? Is they're the people that are accessible?
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
the Board of Health is a local. They have local control here, and there were some decisions that they couldn't make, but there have been decisions that they made.
Okay.
Especially recently, they made the decision to mandate masks. For example, they could make the decision to try to test vitamin D levels for seniors if they wanted to. And that's kind of the proposal that I'm trying to bring attention to, because if we tested vitamin D in the nursing homes of Westfield and offered it at the senior center, then I think then we would know who needs to supplement and who doesn't. And we could bring the risk of hospitalization down for that population. So it's innovative ideas that come from brainstorming, and we can implement that at a local level.
So what I'm getting from you right now at this point is, geez, the Board of Health is good, it's bad. We're not in that frame of mind. It's there are other things out there that need to be looked at.
That's right.
Your phone's going off.
Dad, I'll call you after the show. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
So as I was saying, it's more, well, geez, there are other things to consider, more things to look at.
Yeah, there are things to look at. People have ideas, and we would like to be able to communicate them and get responses back and have a discussion about, because the whole point of the Board of Public Health of Westfield is to have some local control, which means there's local communication. And another thing with the vitamin D, and I know I'm stuck on vitamin D, but
we have time.
it's important. But another thing with the vitamin D is that there was a study that suggests that high PFAS levels block absorption of vitamin D. So in Westfield, it's even more critical to know if you have low vitamin D.
There's a study going on with UMass regarding how the vaccinations are working with PFAS,
Yes.
the possibility of PFAS in your system.
And I actually talked to the researcher before the study started, and I said, you should put a question about vitamin D on there, see if you can measure the vitamin D levels. And I think they did. They added that.
All right. You're not the first person I've seen on social media mention vitamin D.
It's from all accounts, even at the beginning, there were suggestions that it was very important. There's a strong correlation. If you get COVID with a low vitamin D level, you're in trouble because your immune system needs to use it.
Okay. All right. I want to. You've been vocal on social media about two of the other large elephants in the room.
Okay.
All right, and I'm gonna have you bring them up because I let both sides say what they want to say on the den. I've been known for that for the 7 years I've been doing this.
I appreciate that.
Do your own research, look up the facts, but you know, we hear, oh boy, that's just another anti-vax or another anti-masker going off on a tyrant, right? You are level-headed and you know how to talk and debate instead of making fun of somebody or poking at somebody because they don't believe in the same thing that you believe in.
Right.
So I'm going to ask you, why do you think that the masks were a joke or the masks don't work?
Okay. I think that masks are a much more complex situation than is presented. We don't look at it as what is it doing in real life, right? So the masks that we wear, that people wear, we wear cotton masks, we wear those blue paper things,
Surgical.
surgical masks.
Yeah.
Which, where's the air going? It's going out. It's not.
And for almost 2 years now, I do have to mention the CDC said, well, this is what you want.
Yeah, the CDC was this will help. It helps minimally, but those virus particles, you've got to think about where they go. So the ones that get filtered are sitting on the mask, on the inside of the mask, and a lot of them just leave the sides and go out the nose, about between the sides of the nose, and
Or it's not fitting tightly.
yeah, it doesn't. There have been videos of somebody with a vape pen, and they try different masks on and see where the air goes. Well, the smoke is just almost as thick coming out the front of the mask as it is coming out the sides and the top, and it's like it's not a filter; it's a piece of cloth. Now, the medical ones are made to stop the spray from talking.
And when you say the medical ones, you're talking about the
the-
KN95s and the 95s?
No, those are respirators.
Okay, all right.
The medical, the blue ones, the surgical.
All right, we're talking about
yeah,
what you
the
find at your
surgical
corner store.
Yeah, the ones that they hand out at school, at wherever.
Okay.
So those stop bacteria and they stop the spray from going forward. So, but bacteria is a lot bigger than a virus. And if you wear those masks for too long, the spray dries and then it gets released again.
And where did you find this information out? How do you know it?
Well, on one of the Board of Health meetings, there was a FBI professional, and he had 3 minutes to talk about his experience and what kind of masks they need for fentanyl,
Okay.
for example. And I've heard him lecture at another place, and
You've been putting together an amalgam of everything.
yeah, I just read a lot, so it's hard to say where did I find this out, because it's like I just read everything. But there's a 20-minute change. If you're in a hospital wearing a surgical mask, you change it every 20 minutes. So we're not even following the science of what you would need to do. And the next part is the reason that it's a complicated situation is because if people have masks on, they're a lot more comfortable going out into a store than if they didn't. So that allows high-risk people to feel like they're safer.
Okay.
And they're not.
Does it help at all? A little
Okay,
bit?
so you would have to have somebody who is positive for COVID, but doesn't have any symptoms, because normally if you have symptoms, you stay home. So you've got the 1 to 2 days of pre-symptom COVID that maybe it might slow it down, but it's very, very minimal help. It's making people more confident. Like when our rates were sky high, people should have been staying home, not putting on a mask and going out.
All right.
So it's giving people a false sense of security. The N95 and KN95 with the NIOSH certification, those masks they are actually a filter.
But they have to fit right.
They do have to fit correctly.
Right.
Yeah, you can't have openings. And if you have one that fits correctly, that will help you. So
Instead of helping others,
yeah,
where that was the conventional wisdom.
That's the way they get you to comply is peer pressure, because I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it for you.
Right.
So it's all mind games, and I hate mind games.
Speaking of mind games, I want to know how long Pete. How are we on time? All right, we have 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, we could very well be at the end of all this too. There may or may not be another variant coming out. Nobody knows, but we're at the point now where everything is an advisory instead of a mandate.
Right.
So, myself being a libertarian, I'm less government control,
Yeah.
smaller government, and I like to be able to make up my mind for myself once I read all the facts,
Exactly. And
and not just going off of a smartly designed meme on social media.
right. Yeah, give people the responsibility to do their own research and make their own decision based on their health, their comfort, and their beliefs.
All right. We should have enough time for the next big one, and you know what it is. You've been vocal about it on social media.
Go ahead.
Oh, I wouldn't get the jab. All right.
It is not tested.
Okay.
That is the
When you say not tested, all right, obviously it's gone through tests.
there's a few tests.
Yes.
Yes. They were done by the manufacturers.
Okay.
So if you trust them, then you're like way in a different category than me. I don't trust them.
Okay.
They have been sued many, many times and found guilty and paid major amounts of money.
With other vaccinations or with other...
Other vaccinations, but more other drugs. Vaccinations have their liability removed and have since 1986, when people started suing them for vaccination damages and winning. So the government said, "Oh, we can't allow them to lose a lot of court cases because they'll go out of business and then they can't make our medicine."
Follow the money.
Follow the money.
Okay.
So the FDA, when they were looking at and talking about whether or not age 5 to 15 should be allowed to get the vaccines, and I was actually at my son's gymnastics event and kicked out because I wouldn't wear a mask. So I was sitting outside in the parking lot and I was watching the hearing. And one of the people on the board of the FDA said, "We need to allow it so we can find out if it's safe." If that doesn't bring some red flags,
I seem to remember, and I'm not trying to politicize this, but I seem to remember Nancy Pelosi saying, well, we have to vote it in and accept it in order to know what's in it.
it totally reminded me of that.
Okay.
That is such
All right.
logic.
That's a decent analogy for that.
It is. It is. But with our kids' health.
Okay.
So, there have obviously not been long-term studies because we've only had 2 years, and long-term is 5, 15, something like that. What does this do to people in the long run? We have no idea.
Yeah.
The mRNA vaccine or medicine has been out longer, but using the mRNA that we're using currently that makes the spike protein hasn't been, and it hasn't been tested. So the vaccine method has been tested, but the vaccine contents have not, and that's a problem.
All right. This is why I have folks like you come in, so that both sides can be heard, so that you have something to go on. And I know that you're not going to get up here and just make something up, because we've spoken about things in the past.
We have.
All right. That's why you're in here.
Thank you.
About 2 minutes or so left. Anything else that's on your mind that you want to get out to my 26 listeners?
There may be a few more for this episode. I don't know.
All right.
Just we need to bring communication back within the city, and I hope the people in government take the time to read and respond to emails and think about what their constituents say. And that will help with the anger component of this, because you can dissipate anger by having a full discussion, and people feel heard that way.
How is a statement or something that's shared on all the forums on social media? How does that help?
From the officials?
Yes.
It does help. I mean, we want to know what's going on, what they're thinking, what they're doing next, and have the opportunity to agree or disagree or give input. And people I think if it's modeled properly, then people will start changing from being mad to, oh, hey, we're having a conversation now?
Right.
Let's talk. You want to hear our ideas? Let's get some.
Yeah, this is why we don't allow national politics on the Westfield Community Forum, because you know where it can go.
Yeah. It's we can't do much about it.
Right.
So it's hard to, but we can do something on the local level. We need to come together and problem solve.
And local level sides, quote unquote, they don't exist. There's no Democrat, there's no Republican on the local, on the town, on the municipal level.
Yeah, not in Westfield.
It doesn't come into play.
Right.
So there's no need to play sides.
Right.
And I think you started off with it, and we'll end with it. The number one thing that the constituents really want is communication and being able to be heard.
Yeah, when we have good ideas, we want to have them heard and acted on.
All right. Anything else for me?
Just the end of my career.
Okay.
The switch is I am now an alternative healer.
Oh, okay, an alternative healer.
Yes.
Okay. And we are going to let our viewers and listeners Google that.
Absolutely.
And if they have any additional questions or they want more information on that, they can find you on social media.
I am there.
And you're open to them contacting you.
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome.
Have a conversation.
Gabriella Mihalishan, I want to thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Pete?
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley, with convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut. Visit us on the web at westfieldbank.com. wsfd-LP.org.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
I'm missing something.
We are.
What?
We are missing something.
My top of the hour music.
You really want that? I mean, we're way over, so.
I know we're way over, and unfortunately my guest isn't in the studio yet, and I haven't gotten a text.
Okay.
But we're good at chatting, you know.
Oh, we can do it. We can do it. He's on his way. I see him walking across the parking lot.
Oh, he's walking across the parking lot?
Yes.
Okay, well, I have something then.
All right, what do you have?
All right, what the hell's going on in here? We got a noise complaint. Joe, shh. Peter's about to start. We are gathered here again tonight, fellow AA members, to talk about the greatest temptation the devil ever created. Alcohol. Mr. Booze. Mr. Booze. Mr. Booze.
This is 3.5 minutes long, Pete.
B-double-O-Z-E. That sure spells booze. You will wind up wearing tattered shoes if you mess with Mr. Booze. Don't mess with Mr. Booze. Don't mess with Mr. Booze. Don't mess with B-double-O-Z-E. If you've been so stiff they thought you died, you'll feel better once you've testified. Testify. Testify.
I want to testify. I want to testify.
Well, then cleanse yourself, my son. Cleanse yourself.
One time I took a library book out and I fell asleep reading it and I left it under the bed. I forgot about it for 3.5 years. I was going to take it back on Amnesty Day, but on Amnesty Day I had a sip of rosé wine and I never made it out of the house.
Who's to blame? Who's to blame? What's his name? We know his name. His name is Mr. Booze. Mr. Booze. Mr. B-double-O-Z. He don't ever choose. Any game you play with him, you lose. So don't mess with Mr. Booze. If your head feels like it's 2 miles wide, 2 miles wide, you'll feel better once you've testified. Testify. Oh, yeah. Testify.
I want to testify. I want to testify.
Well, come forward, dear brother, and testify.
I used to be a soda pop guy. Then I switched to the bottle. Now I don't leave my couch, and I've seen every movie ever. You name a movie, I've seen it.
Meet Dave.
Seen it.
The Iger Sanction.
Seen it.
Donovan's Reef.
Seen it.
License to Drive.
Definitely seen it.
That's a shame. What a shame. Who's to blame for Corey Haim? His name is Mr. Booze. Mr. Booze. Mr. B-double-O-Z-E. You must refuse. You'll make the obituary news if you mess with Mr. Booze. If you've been so stiff they thought you died, you'll feel better once you testify. Testify. Testify.
This man wants to testify.
Very well, my brother, let us lead him on the path of righteousness.
This poor gentleman used to speak in long, eloquent sentences, but after years of drinking, he can only speak in short, choppy utterances. Why, at one time, if you asked him who his favorite musicians were, he'd say Leonard Bernstein, Johann Sebastian Bach, and Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. But thanks to that old devil hooch, it's all changed. Who's your favorite musician, Ollie?
Cher!
He doesn't even like Cher. Now, alcohol makes a big man small and can lead to a life of crime.
Yeah! Demon rum makes a gin a bum and you cash in before your time.
Yeah! Bootleg gin puts you in a spin till you don't even know your name. Yeah! You're a basket case flat on your face and there's only one guy to blame. Mr. B. Mr. Booze. Mr. Booze. Mr. B-double-O-Z. He don't ever choose. You will wind up wearing tattered shoes if you mess with Mr. Booze. Don't mess with Mr. Booze. Oh, Mr. Booze. Don't mess with Mr. Booze. Oh, Mr. Booze. Don't mess with Mr. Booze.
Don't mess with B-double-O-Z-E, 'cause that spells booze, and you're gonna lose with Mr. Booze.
Oh, yeah.
Don't mess
Oh,
around with Mr. Booze.
Jazz hands.
That's what it said now.
Oh, Mr. Booze.
Where do you find this stuff?
All right, that's it. That's it.
I like that. I want to
Don't
do
mess with Mr. Booze.
Kick line, and
You,
jazz.
you know the movies that they mentioned there? Iger Sanctions was one of them.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe
Right.
needs a headphone adjustment.
Yeah, I can just a little bit.
Which one? Which one? Test 1, 2, 1, 2, 3,
Where
4.
am I? That's it?
Yeah.
No.
One.
Is that one? No. Is that it?
It's one of those two.
Yeah, any better?
No, but that's okay. I'll deal with it.
Can you hear?
Try this set.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
I can.
Try that
Good.
set.
What? All right.
Can you hear me
Hello,
now?
1, 2, 1,
How's
2.
that?
Yeah, that's good.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
It's a little loud, but
A little loud?
It is
Yeah.
loud. They are loud today.
They're loud today?
How's that?
that's more
They're loud
better.
today.
Oh, more better.
Yes.
More better.
Okay, that's more. Kathy, what do you think about more better?
Oh, that's a double
Yeah.
superlative.
So I was mentioning Iger Sanctions was mentioned there.
Yes.
Now, for those of you who've never seen it,
I saw it but years ago.
you know it's a movie I'll watch again. It's Clint Eastwood and George Kennedy climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
And it's it's about spies, and one spy is going after another spy, and
It's ringing a bell soft.
it's one of those where most people probably haven't seen it.
1980s, 1970s,
You know,
80s. it's old.
and I actually have that at the same tier. Believe it or not, you can ready for this?
Okay.
Ice Station Zebra.
Oh, that was another one.
Yeah, which
In the cold.
yeah.
Yeah, it's another one I don't remember.
I'll watch. If that were on this afternoon, I'd probably waste time and sit down and watch it.
Stay away from Mr. Booze.
And Mr. Booze may be invited for that.
Nice.
Yeah. Joe Rouse, welcome back to the studio.
Good morning. Thank you.
How are you?
Morning, Joe.
I'm great.
All right. So, just to make sure everyone knows, Joe was scheduled before Gabriella was even scheduled to be on here. So he's not here to go back and forth and debate. We're actually, what I want to talk about today, and before I even get to that, Joe texted me a while back. He was like, you know what? Anytime you want me to come on, I'll come on. All right, I'll debate about anything. I'll go back and forth with you on anything. That's what he said.
Okay.
That's right.
Anything.
That's right.
Yep.
I have no problem with that. I got
Truth.
nothing to hide.
And the first Tuesday of the month, I like to have somebody from city government in. And I couldn't get anyone in for this Tuesday. That's why the third Tuesday I'm having Zaporowski come in. Originally I wanted him on today, but meetings and superintendent stuff. But I actually want to have you on here to talk about what the Board of Health should be doing instead of talking about masks and vaccines, because there's a lot of things that the Board of Health does, and you haven't actually spoken to that in quite some time. Matter of fact, on my program, we haven't even gotten into that since we were up at the college in that studio.
Right. That's right. Yeah. It's a good opportunity, and thank you. And I'm looking forward to not have, and I shall not retort to any COVID things. We'll talk about other stuff because it's important to say the last 2 years, of course, in a pandemic, you have no choice. It's all encompassing. You have to put the fires out and do what you can. And in the beginning, especially with contact tracing, it was out of control. And really, a lot of things were shut down anyway, so that was kind of good, restaurants and whatnot. But now we're back to everything full capacity, and we have to do a bunch of things to recover from the last 2 years.
Curious right now. We've heard contact tracing. Oh, it takes a lot of effort. What does somebody do when they were contact tracing?
So we actually, in the very beginning, we had 10 nurses that were doing that. And what that means is in the mornings when we would go in and we'd get the report from the state about laboratory confirmed cases every day, we would have to make contact with those people to decide about their isolation or quarantine directives.
And also we had to send them isolation and quarantine orders because that's what you do with communicable disease. Also to try and find out who their close contacts were. And the definition of that changed almost weekly. And it got a little more liberal towards the end, and the isolation and quarantines got a little more liberal. It wasn't as restrictive or as long, but it took an enormous amount of time. I mean, if you have to have 10 people all doing contact tracing, and the cases weren't even at that point as high as they were going to get. So, you know, it got to a point where the state stepped in and they helped out a lot to do contact tracing. So say, when did you get, you know, when did your symptoms start, or do you have symptoms, and who were you around? Who, at one time it was if you were within 15 feet of someone for more than, or no, it was within 6 feet of someone for more than 15 minutes. That was the definition of a close contact. Masked or no mask didn't matter. So that just took an enormous amount of time. The state did step in and they established their own contact tracing collaborative, but then at the end of December it disbanded. So we were kind of left in the lurch after the holidays. So,
and then once the at-home tests kept showing up, that's when that practice was laxed in the city.
Right. I mean, and I think it's a good thing, especially in the schools, if people abide by it. You're supposed to test your kids on Sunday. If they come up positive, you call it in. If not, you send them to school.
I tested when I got back from Virginia. You know, the pack that I got from the Postal Service, there's 5 tests in there.
Yeah.
And you know, because there's a significant number of tests, and I had already purchased some just to have, now you're not... Now you don't think to yourself, oh, geez, you know, do I have to save this for another time when I have a, you know, a drip or an itch in my throat or something? Now there's enough of them where you can use it just as a precaution if you've been traveling.
Right. Yeah. So once that started, we said, you know, we can't really measure this with laboratory confirmed cases anymore. So, you know, if and it's positivity rates are still reported on the state website for individual cities and towns. So if you want to know, you can go there. But we need to move on, and we need to do other things that are equally as important in preventing people from getting sick and dying.
And I know one of them is something you haven't really been able to do lately, and it's one of the big things that the Board of Health is responsible for, and that is...
Restaurant
inspections, yes.
Wow. So we had, and we're not unique in this way, but all of the other communities that I talk to, and we have a monthly meeting with all Hampden County municipalities, all in the same boat. 2 things happen. One, places shut down. You had to go and deal with the fire du jour. And the other one was people started dropping like flies. Nobody signed up for this. And every other community that I know of, once it got really nasty and really, you know, I said we were working 25/8. The people in those positions in the health department started leaving.
Oh.
Because, I mean, for somebody who wasn't as seasoned, if they'd only been there for a year or 2, they threw up their hands at some point and went, nope. So now your staff's reduced. You don't have as many people. Even when the restaurants started opening up again, we were still clamoring too. I mean, we lost people. And so now we're back at full staff, and we have to get out and start doing these places. So if you think about it, for the last 2 years, we've done virtually no restaurants.
I don't want to think about that.
I mean, really, think about that.
I've seen some of these kitchens. I don't want to think about that.
Well, the big thing is with the restaurant inspections, just so you know, there's a whole, you know, the food code, federal food code that we use from the FDA. And it's, you know, as thick as a New York City phone book. It's just got everything in there. And we have a little addendum from the state in their regulations too, specific to Massachusetts for like bed and breakfasts and things that other places don't have. So in all the 24 years that I've been doing it, the one thing I noticed is you're talking about the dirty kitchens. It's not that they don't care to clean. It's just that it's not like they need to be reminded very regularly, you know, and not under any sort of a threat. So what we started doing years ago, because say you do a restaurant inspection at a big place, it takes hours to do that. And there's only so many hours in a day, and there's a lot of restaurants, and there's only so many of us. So we started to do this kind of just drop-in walk-through, no clipboard, no form, just to say, hey, everybody, we're still here.
Unannounced.
Yep, always unannounced. We're still here. And, maybe you want to take care of that thing that I see over there, and let's walk around real quick. I'm not writing anything down. You can if you want. But it was just to be able to establish that presence that we're still here. Don't forget.
Yeah. Hopefully the owner, the manager, whoever's in charge was there and reading into that saying, oh, geez, they're probably going to come back and check that at some point.
Right.
You mentioned your staffing. Would you find that the restaurants maybe have a staffing issue to keep up with some of
Absolutely
this?
do, yeah.
To wash the floors and keep the counters clear because they've lost people too.
Yep. And so, it's a kind of a collaborative effort. I say, going in and doing a restaurant inspection isn't all about, hey, you're dirty and you need to do this or you're going to kill somebody or something. It's more like, let's all get on the same page here. I'm going to let you know what's important to me, and then you can tell me what your limitations are, what your expectations are. So it really, there's been many times where I've gone into a kitchen and it's been disgusting, and I basically just shut them down, get all the customers out of here, and start cleaning. And 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, I'm going to be here. Every single member of the staff better be here, and we're going to have a conversation.
Gordon Ramsay Hell's Kitchen.
Just
is
like
back.
that.
Yes.
Just like that.
Exactly.
Maybe we could put you on TV.
Yeah.
He is on TV.
That's right. Right now.
Yeah. Right now, here we
Now in the first Wednesday of every month.
That's right. Tomorrow. I can't wait. So the restaurant inspections are huge. They're huge. You think about, we've had outbreaks of foodborne illness in Westfield before that have completely, tanked the business.
I remember the salmonella we had.
Yes,
years ago. That was terrible.
That was bad. And fortunately, knock on fake wood, we haven't had really anything recently with clusters. And when we do, it's not anything like the salmonella outbreak.
I don't know of anything lately.
Right. And so we've been lucky, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And now one other thing, we got to move past this whole debate, or we're beyond that now. We need to get back out and do the things that we're supposed to do. And a lot of those aren't even just mandates that we have to do. They're trying to be proactive and deal with other public health issues before they present themselves as being a big problem. So, getting out and just doing health fairs and making people aware of all of these other things that we talked about radon before that they don't think about.
We're going to be getting into that too.
Yeah. So, okay. What's next?
Yeah, the radon. No, I'm still with the restaurants.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I am a foodie, and I haven't worked in a commercial kitchen, but I've used commercial kitchens at some point. I can't say because of certain regulations, but I'm just trying to wrap my head around what actually goes on during a restaurant inspection. Now, I'm going to mention a few things, but then I want you to come back with something that I would not even think of or not expect. But I'm assuming you're looking at cross-contamination in the kitchen. You're looking at everything that have a note on it as to what it is, the date it came in, the date it's not good anymore, temperatures, and I'm sure you're looking at both the temperatures of the prepared food as well as the walk-in. I'm thinking of things like that.
Right.
What are some other aspects of a restaurant inspection that I might not even think about?
So, and this is all just my preference. There's no script for it, but when I go in, just introduce myself and show ID so that they know I'm not up to any funny business. And then I'll go over, wash my hands the right way so everybody can see how you wash your hands the right way and for how long. And then I just kind of step back and I watch what's going on. I'm not going around looking for things necessarily. I want to see how people are handling food. I want to see, what the general cleanliness looks like. Years ago, before the new food code came out, we used to focus a lot on the facility. So, like the floors, are they dirty? Do they have the right coverings? Are they using the right kind of cutting boards? It was all like that. Are there any water leaks? And so
grease trap.
Grease trap.
Yeah.
And so it just morphed into more of a food handling, like what you were talking about. Watching for areas where there can be cross-contamination. The walk-in coolers are a big one because of the way you have to store things in there. Certain things on top of other things and certain things away from other things.
In other words, produce and things like that up top, and meats with their subatomic juicing whatevers go down on the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah, and you find a lot of that. That's really one big thing because people they're busy. These kitchens are busy. Just throw it in there. Everything's got to be covered. There can't be anything stored that needs temperature control out just sitting out in the middle of the floor. All of the cleaning areas have to be very delineated from the prep areas. So you have your 3 base sinks and dishwashers away from that, and how people are moving in the kitchen is a big thing. So if it's if it's just a small pizza shop, there's 1 or 2 people, it doesn't really matter. But you're looking to see who's doing what. Is that guy making sandwiches or is he washing dishes? I can't. You can't keep going back and forth like that. So, and if you do, make sure that there's that intermission where you're washing your hands and putting gloves on and not having bare hand contact and stuff. So a lot of probably the biggest violations we see are involving improper storage of food. So the walk-in situation, even some of the other stuff where they have big containers of things that aren't labeled. It's like this, I don't know, whatever size those trash cans are, and you open up the lid and it's like, what the heck is this? I don't even know. I can't even identify it. It's usually it's a shelf-stable item, but what is it, flour or I don't cornstarch? I don't know what this is. And then there's also just the labeling of things, for the ingredients that they're using. Everything's got to be labeled. Everything's got to be stored right. That's always a big problem because, like I said, they're busy. They got to move. They can't. The other thing, spoilage is a big issue too. So there are times when you have a refrigerator underneath the counter. It's on the ground basically. Well, it never fails that if you delve deep enough into that cooler, you're going to find something that was way rancid and out of date from months ago.
So just like TV, you've actually come across something furry in a where it should be
furry
cold
and green and
Oh, don't even.
Sure. Yeah.
And that just doesn't affect that item itself. It affects what's around it.
It does.
At least last I knew.
Yep. And the other thing is when we do grocery stores, that's another one. So it's not all about restaurants, but the amount of out-of-date food that you see there. And they have to, the ones around here are pretty good, and they have gotten better because they're huge companies and they have their own policies. Sometimes they're even more restrictive than the food code. So that's good.
And when you say they've gotten better, what's that in relation to?
In relation to when I first started in 1997.
But better at what?
At the past date foods. They have better inventory control.
All right.
Probably because of computers and systems like that, which wasn't prevalent.
All right. So not better at what they do after expiration then.
Right.
All right.
Hey, Kenny, can I run a top 5 of relating to this topic?
To this topic?
Yes.
You know what?
It's a minute.
He's the producer.
It's only
right?
a minute.
I'm curious.
Wait, let's ask Joe.
Oh yeah, this guy's good.
Oh yeah.
5 dirtiest.
It's all over. The wheels, the floor, the grills. This is mold.
I have bugs all over my table.
So it looks like it hasn't been cleaned since the 50s. French fry, anybody? Oh, cockroach in the refrigerator! Oh, look at that! That is a run for cockroaches. Look, this is all dead cockroaches. You have a huge infestation problem here.
Look at all this dirt. This is so uncool.
Makes you want to vomit immediately. That's underneath your fryer. That's a refrigerator. Look in there.
Hey, Robert.
Oh, my God! Oh, my good night.
Oh, I remember this one.
Mice? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 dead mice. Everybody go outside and get protective clothing on. Never before in the history of my career have I ever had to dress in a hazmat suit. We got a whole infestation. All these walls now have to come off. Oh, look, cockroach. Holy. I have never seen. Oh my God. I got it.
I can't even.
I hope we haven't been that severe any place in town, but I'm sure you've seen maybe variations of that.
A couple, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't share.
Usually when they get to that point, they don't reopen again. There's just, they're at the end of the line. Yeah. But there's been a couple where mice have been a big deal. They don't have a contract with an exterminator, so now we require that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's interesting. Now, that's something you wouldn't think of.
Yeah.
Did you know, there's an interesting thing about the bugs and the mice. Here's what it says in the code, that you cannot have an infestation. So whatever that means, define it for yourself. It doesn't mean there can't be a mouse. It doesn't mean there can't be a fly. You just can't have an infestation. So even if I'm doing an inspection and a mouse runs right in front of me on the floor, unless there's, 20 of them somewhere, it doesn't mean that that's a violation so much.
There probably are if you see one.
Probably there usually is, but there are places that are a lot more rural around in Westfield. We're huge. There used to be a restaurant up at the airport that's not there anymore, and they had a problem just because of where they were. You think maybe the inner city places have worse problems. Well,
no.
They have.
Field mice are field mice.
No,
field mice.
I have 4 cats, and I will see a mouse in my house.
Yeah.
And they sit there and go, "I'll get you later."
Yeah, right. Yeah. So in some places, it's the mice issue. Maybe not an infestation. There's just mice. And then in inner city places,
and where there's mice, there's mice.
But I don't
poo.
want them crawling
Yes, there is.
I don't want them crawling on my tables. Ugh.
Never seen a real big problem with bugs like they showed the cockroaches and everything. I mean, maybe a couple downtown, but not prevalent in the food prep area. Usually down, like if they had a basement, that's pretty
Every
constant.
building down there is
Yeah.
Do you think it's
not
maybe the
not even
weather? We have cooler weather.
it's a nothing burger in a situation like that. I want to stick with restaurants for a minute now. Bare-handed food prep. Now, if you go through the washing of your hands properly and you go immediately to food prep, what is the bottom line with that? Are you good to go, or do you still need to have a hand covering?
So the way they wrote it, and I think that people interpret it as you have to wear gloves, it says you cannot have bare hand contact with ready-to-eat food.
Ready to eat.
With ready-to-eat food. So you can't make a cold sandwich, ham and cheese or something, without some sort of barrier. If you want to make it with tongs and wax paper, good luck. But it doesn't say specifically gloves. It just says no bare hand contact.
Right.
So gloves are obviously the most efficient way to handle food that's going to be ready to eat. But you wash your hands, and then if you want to make the pizza dough.
That's exactly where I was going.
Right.
Throwing toppings on a pizza, that's okay because that sucker's going into a 650-degree oven.
Right. Yeah, and so one of the things when I was talking about standing back and watching everything that's going on before you get into the inspection is to see that process too. What's going on here? There is, and there's a protocol. You take the gloves off, you wash your hands before you put other gloves on. And sometimes you'll see people with the gloves on just feeling like they can do whatever. They're moving the trash can around.
Yeah, they go from one contaminant to another.
Right. Or some of them will be handling cash, with the...
I've seen that.
Yep.
Gloves into the cash register and then back into the kitchen.
Right. And so...
I haven't reported any of those yet,
well,
but
now you know who to talk to.
John Taffer's big about the cross-contamination when on his show. He's really big about that.
Yeah. It's in the bigger places, and again, like I said, because they're busy, they're trying to pump out product, and so that washing of your hands in between glove changes is not something that happens a whole lot.
Right.
But it's a big deal. So that's what.
Why is that a big deal? Because you're covering your hand back up with a clean glove.
Yeah, except you're touching the glove on the outside with sweaty hands.
Gotcha.
Or just in the glove. So there's a component of bacteria that's going to happen, but. It's one of those things that when that first came out, again, I feel like a dinosaur every time. I thought The when I first started, there was not that requirement. It was hand washing, cover your cuts.
Yep.
If you need
Short nails.
Short nails. If you need, that was another one too. It was prohibitive to have long fingernails. You weren't allowed to do it and be in food prep. And some of the people that I had to tell to cut their fingernails didn't like it very much because they probably just spent a lot of money getting them done somewhere, and now they can come off. But there was no requirement for gloves. It was just wash your hands. If you have a cut, they had finger cots that you would put on there. I mean, even a Band-Aid would be okay. People can get sick from that too, and I don't mean from food poisoning, but it's a foodborne intoxication is what it's called. So if you have a cut on your finger and you touch somebody's food, they could get sick from that even quicker than they would present with foodborne illness symptoms. It's almost like a staph infection or something like that, right? So that's why it's important. Band-Aids are okay, but the finger cots are those are the thing.
And that's why it's important to get off this damn mask and vax stuff and get you guys back out into the restaurant so you can look out for us.
I can't wait. And I you feel bad too because kids are in there eating, with their families and everything. And it's like, I don't want to. We have been so lucky the past 2 years to not have to had gone down that path of doing a investigation for foodborne illness outbreak. So we got to get in there. I'm telling you, it's only a matter of time. It's a ticking time bomb.
Good. I think we beat the whole restaurant thing and food inspections too.
I'm just curious, just for a point of information, how many restaurants are we talking in Westfield?
We're over 200. I don't know exactly because I haven't been keeping track lately.
And I assume you have to go into like the smaller stores that have the grinders and that kind of the delis.
Yep.
We've got an awful lot of those. Every time you turn, every gas station in town.
I know. They changed the code a couple years ago so that we don't have to license the places that only sell prepackaged food anymore.
Okay, yep.
So like at a liquor store, we'll only have potato chips or something like that. You don't have to. We used to have to license them as a retail.
Yeah, packaged potato chip. You'd have to have the common victualler.
Yep.
And then you'd have to have the food license just to have a bag of Lay's up on the counter.
Right. Yeah. So
I always
changed.
question that one.
I know. Do you know that license you were talking about, the common victular or whatever it's called? That actually is the language to that law is so antiquated. It says that it actually says this, like, serving food to weary travelers or some sort of ancient language like that. Yeah. And it's a nothing license. There's no inspection involved with it. So
it's the initial payoff in order.
Give me your $100.
Yeah, 100,000 in some cases. 9:37, Pete. Let's do a break, and we'll be back with Joe.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Underwriting is brought to you by Boise Cascade Distribution, providing products and services needed for building material dealers, home improvement centers, and industrial customers. They offer everything from engineered wood and plywood to Drex decking and railing, James Hardy siding, and Advantech subfloor. Located at 33 Fowler Street Extension in Westfield and on the web at bc.com. They are committed to providing quality products, great service, convenience, and value.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
And we are back. We have Joe Rouse in the studio. Port of Health, do they still have anything to do with trash and recycling?
For now, yes.
I've heard for the past 3 or 4 years that might change.
Yeah.
All right.
That's how long things take to change in government, at least, minimum.
That's true.
Yeah.
So with all the other plights that I have to bear is the transfer station and the operation thereof. So that's the resident drop-off. We don't bring our trash there from curbside anymore. It gets trucked directly to a facility in Holyoke, which is a big strain on our fleet. But yeah, so the health department still oversees the operation of the transfer station.
Right, and I'm seeing where we're actually at the point now where we're starting to make money on our recycling again.
That's been an issue.
Yeah, it was so...
We're just starting to be back there.
So disheartening when they decided to start charging for recycling. So it wasn't free anymore. When we converted from dual stream to single stream, however many years ago that was, 10, something like that.
It was a while.
Yeah, and we got all the new trash containers and everything. And so we used to get paid for our recycling very, very well. So when it was dual stream, bottles and cans, paper, separate, and we'd get a check every month, and it was good money. And then when we went to single stream, because of the facility it had to go to, they decided it was a zero tipping fee, which meant we're not paying anything, we're not getting anything. And then a couple years ago, they said, oh, by the way, recycling's now going to be $40 a ton or whatever it was. That wasn't in the budget. We didn't see that coming.
Interesting.
And somehow I morphed into a solid waste manager on top of everything else. So,
Well, you weren't looking?
Oh, yeah. Well, anyway.
Look at what I got here. Automated refuse collection from when it first started.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
All right. I'll just do one of
Where'd you get that?
I don't even remember that.
My father's slowly starting to go through some things in his house, and
He's going through the junk drawer.
and I save menus
Save
and
that.
things from the town now. Everything goes into the one blah 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 blah. Okay, the city of Westfield insert in here. Mayor Richard Sullivan.
Oh, wow.
City Council.
Okay.
All right. Brent Bean, President.
Yeah.
James Adams, Lynn Boscher, Christopher Crean, James Laverty, Peter Miller Jr., Brian Sullivan, David Banish, Martin Canty, Daniel Knappich, Charles Medeiros,
Yeah.
Mark Noonan, and Barbara Swords.
I remember all those people.
Some of them are gone.
They were actually, I think that must have been the council when I first started. Did they have a date on there?
I'm sure I can find one.
Yeah.
Department of Public Works, Phil Genovese was the director.
Okay. That had to have been late 90s then.
Yeah.
Look on the back.
Printed by Graphic Arts, Westfield Vocational Technical High School.
Nice.
I do not see
Got to be
the
a date. Front cover, maybe? Inside? No.
It's got to be 97, probably 98, 99.
Mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
But
Dan might
I just thought, the list of people who were in office then might have been interesting, and that's why I ended up bringing it in.
It
I
was
did not know we were going to be talking about this.
It was a good council. I remember having to go in front of them for something. They were very active, that group. I mean, not that this one isn't, but they, they were moving and dealing all the time. And that's when the meetings weren't like a million hours long. Do you remember? You'd watch those council meetings, and they'd be speaking in tongues almost, and it would just go boom, 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 and they'd be done. You go, what the heck just happened? I don't even understand anything, but they had to slow that down over the years. But
so yeah, I thought it's important, to mention. Yeah, you have to deal with the rubbish in town.
Yeah.
On top of restaurants, on top of
I know
everything else going on, and on top of there are programs for residents, and I know I took part of this. A few years back. Are we still concerned with radon here in town?
Oh, yeah. That's never going anywhere. We're not going to mitigate. You're not going to go and dig up the deposits of uranium that are off-gassing into radon that'll give you cancer. It's a Class A carcinogen. I've said it before. Certain areas of the city are worse than others. So we have, it was like Prospect Street Extension and all of those developments that are off of there have problems. Upper Western Avenue has problems, and it's pretty uniform. And because we buy the test kits and we hand them out for free to residents, they can come pick them up at the office, whatever, and and then we get the results. So it shows us what the addresses are, and we plot that on a map so we can see where the hot spots are.
And it's not because we did something in the past. This is just naturally occurring.
Natural decay.
Yes.
Yeah. It is. I know. So, like I said, there's certain areas to see, but you know what? We haven't been all over the place yet. So some other areas might pop. It could be Granville Road. I don't even know. So we're still trying to get those kits out.
All right. How does the kit work?
So it's just basically like an envelope that you open up. It has like a charcoal filter in there, and you just situate that at the end. You hang it. It's got a little plastic hook on it, or you just put it in the lowest living level of your house, so not basement. If it's unfinished basement, you don't have to put it down there. And then I think it sits for like 3-4 days. You just close it back up and you mail it in.
Right.
That's it. Free.
Just go to the Board of Health office at City Hall.
Yep. And we have them out in the lobby on the table. Help yourself.
During our break, you mentioned something about opiates.
Yeah. So that's the other thing we've not necessarily been neglecting it, but when City Hall was closed, we have a person that Kathy Coutinho, she named the group CORE, and the acronym for that always escapes me, but it's essentially what used to be the Drug Task Force. So we have a person there who's an expert in that, opioid addiction and trying to get. I always say there's two sides of the line. There's the people who haven't yet been affected that we need to get to, and then there's the ones that need some sort of recovery or treatment. And so that's what she's there for, and it's a big deal. The numbers of overdoses hasn't gone down in the last 2 years, but we now just are forming a new subgroup where we can isolate those people, the kids that haven't been affected by that addiction yet, and just try and drive it home that, and I don't know if you remember, but when I was in grade school, there was always these crazy videos. You remember the teacher would bring in the metal cart with the TV on it that had a VHS that she couldn't figure out how to work.
It was a 17-inch Sony Trinitron.
Yeah. By the way, I have the definition for the acronym. It's Coalition for Outreach, Recovery, and Education.
There, that's it. That's exactly what we need to do more of. Thank you, Peter. I was too busy worrying about trash. But so they bring in that TV and they put the tape in there. And it was always some horrific video of somebody like taking PCP and then jumping out the window. Remember?
Everything was a little extreme back
But it worked because I went, and then I was like, well, I don't want to do PCP. I'm going to jump out the window and die. I'm not doing that.
I haven't done it because of that.
Right. And then there was the other one that had some guy like snorting cocaine or something. Then he had a heart attack and died, and he was like 20.
Yeah, that scared me enough. I ain't trying
I
that.
can't do that. No, I don't want to have a heart attack when I'm 20. So that was it. So not that we're going to impose those scare tactics in our kids now, but we need to at least get into the schools and educate and talk about it. You know, like, hey, kids, don't do heroin. I mean, I don't know. Kathy has a whole plan for that.
Don't do it.
So,
yeah.
Mhm.
Speaking of drugs, I know that there are grants. I don't know if every town gets it, but grants for drug take back.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Do we get those here in Westfield? And
I don't think we've applied for one yet. We do have drug take back at the police stations, so you can drop your.
Yeah,
That was
solids only though, no liquids.
Right, and that was a crazy thing because when we first got that kiosk, we wanted to have the program, but the restrictions were such that it had to be in a place that was under 24/7 surveillance, so obviously the police department, and it needed to be anchored to the floor like nothing I have ever seen before in my
Yeah,
life.
worse than an ATM.
You can't knock that thing over with a tank. You
Right.
gotta see it.
you know, next time I go down there to get my for my sharps, are they still there? Or do
Yep.
I go to you now?
The sharps are still there. We're working on getting another one at City Hall.
Okay, because next time I go there to get my container for sharps, I'm going to pay attention to that.
You can't. I'm telling you right now, if that building collapses, the last thing standing is going to be that take back container.
When they build a new one, that will still be there.
Yep.
Hey,
We'll
Pete,
build
we
around
have
it.
time left to play a little game with Joe. Are you ready to go for that?
Hold on.
Or have you been chatting it up with other people in the control room?
People have been coming in now.
Yeah.
What is it, like trivia or something?
It's fun. No risk.
You've done it in the past.
I have.
I'm pretty sure you have.
Oh.
You must have.
Okay.
Everybody has.
Well, good. Now I'm less nervous.
Yep.
All right, I got it.
All right, and I'm using the first
Well,
one, not the second one.
There was that one person, remember? No, never mind.
Okay, here on Ken's Den, every so often we play this game with our guests called Ken's 10.
Is that a minion?
Yes.
Okay. Ooh, we got background.
It almost looks like COVID.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. Get away from me.
Ken's 10 is a list of rapid-fire questions I send off in your direction. There are no right or wrong answers. It's just strictly your own humble opinion. But you can't sit there and think about it. You just have to come up with it. Now,
7 seconds.
Now, I started this a few years... No.
Nope.
No,
All
we
right.
don't have that here.
I'll be quick.
So I started off originally Ken's 10, then version 2, then version 3, then version 4, then version 5. I came out with a new one every year, and then the China virus hit.
Right.
I didn't want to come out with 6 because we weren't seeing a lot of people. So I came up with 5.5.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 months ago, I came up with 5.75. Now, 5.75 is the 2 weeks to straighten the curve edition.
Okay.
5.5 is only the COVID edition.
Okay. Is that what this is?
Yes.
All right.
So Ken's 10 COVID edition 5.5 with Joe Rouse. Number 1, delivery or curbside?
Curbside.
Me too.
Weight gain or loss?
Loss.
Lucky.
See, I was the same way because I became more active. I did not get the COVID-15.
I lost 50 pounds.
I got the COVID 85.
Yeah.
On purpose?
Yeah.
I'm under 270 now.
Yeah. See.
Yeah.
You both stink.
Number 3, terrified or cautious?
Cautious.
Number 4, yes or no? Coughed and looked around to see if anyone was reacting.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Number 5, yes or no? Spending more on your gas and electric bill. Not the past couple of months, but a year ago with the pandemic.
No.
Because you were not home.
Right. There you go. You got it.
You're one of the only ones who weren't. Number 6, fashion mask or generic mask?
Generic. I'm no fashionista.
Oh, Joe.
Come on.
I know who your mother is.
Well, she has the fashion mask, and she can't make me wear it.
Number 7, yes or no? Gone down the aisle of a market in the wrong direction?
Absolutely, yes. I didn't have my glasses on.
Yeah. Those arrows are really big. Your eyesight must suck.
Yeah.
Number 8.
You look like, oh, never mind.
Number 8, binge watch or normal TV watching when you actually had time?
I binged a lot because I stayed up way later than I should have.
Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9.
Bueller.
Zoom. Love it or hate it?
Hate it.
And number 10, Ken's 10 COVID edition 5.5. Yes or no? Did you have toilet paper issues?
No. And I wasn't part of the initial mad rush either.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
Either. I never ran out.
And that's Ken's 10 with Joe Rouse.
Well, thank you. You know, that was fun. And no toilet paper issues because most of the time I was at City Hall and you had to see the stockpile they had there.
You should see the stock. I'm not supposed to talk about it. Never mind.
You know what? You know what the big shortage is now?
What?
Cat food.
Is it?
I heard that.
Food. Yeah. Walmart has been empty. No cat
Let's get a can of cheap tuna.
Yeah.
Well, it is an issue when I have enough. I because I always buy the big boxes.
You buy by the
anyway,
truckload.
So I have 4, so I have to. But it's a real shortage. There's dry cat food.
How about Westfield Feed? Do they have any?
No, Westfield Feed. They have the individual cans, Peter. That's a good suggestion.
What about Agway?
Tractor Supply has it. Agway, I don't.
Or what used to be like? I can't think of the name now.
They have the individual cans, but I need the boxes. So.
It seems like every time I go into a store, there's an empty section of something.
Yeah, I've noticed.
The other day, it was paper plates. Yeah. What happened to paper plates?
Now, that Big Y, I see they have plenty of frozen chicken. I go to the Stop and Shop in the frozen area. That whole, it's all gone.
Yeah.
Frozen chicken, nuggets.
Maybe the health inspector made him throw it away. So.
I got a minute left for you, Joe, if you want to get out anything that's on your mind.
I only want to say this was a pleasure to not have to obsess about COVID and be able to get a message out that hopefully will help one person live a better life. And we're going to be out there. So, warning to all the restaurant owners, the health department's coming.
He's back.
They're coming. They're coming.
All right, yeah, I'm happy we didn't have to dwell on pandemic at all. The first time in 2 years I've been talking to you on air.
Yeah,
it was a nice change of pace.
And it's exciting, you know. All these things we talk about, they're exciting and they're much needed. And just beating that dead horse of COVID for 2 years, I kind of like my job again.
Good to hear. Next week, Chef John Slattery is in the studio. Then 2 weeks from now, Superintendent Zaporowski will be in. I'm sure he's going to be more pleasant than what he has been because now we're after February 28th. And he's been waiting to hit that mark. 3 weeks from now, making the list. And then
the championship belt will be back. Joe, you want to come in for that?
Yeah.
we have a literally championship belt for that now.
And then
ask Rick Barry to see it.
4 weeks from now, I think it's going to be your show because I'm going to be in Nevada. Again.
Nevada.
All right, that's all the time we have. Joe, take us out.
Stay healthy, my friends.